Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video on the channel. Today for you guys we have another video, like I did the top 10 most underrated players in the NHL, and we're doing in the best player from every NHL team this season. This video, before we get into this video, actually took a while to make, so if you could just take a minute to check if you're subscribed to the channel, that would be great. And anyways, let's get into the video. So starting off with our first team on the list, we have the Carolina Hurricanes. From the Carolina Hurricanes, there was a lot of good decisions. Hamilton, but I actually chose Sebastian Aho. In 2021, he had 57 points in 56 games this season, most points on his team. He had a plus 16, and he was clearly, I think, the best player on their team. Number 2 at the Chicago Blackhawks, Alex DeBrincat could have been a really good choice, but I chose Patrick Kane because of Patrick Kane's career, not just because of this year. He had 66 points in 56 games, over a point per game. And obviously, you guys know he's won more than one cup, I think, with Chicago. And him and Jonathan Toews have just been amazing with Chicago, their career. So number 3 for the Columbus Blue Jackets, confused decision here. I could have went with Jack Roslovic. I went with Oliver Bjorkstrand because he had 44 points in 56 games. Roslovic only had 30-something. But I think Bjorkstrand, he's been a good goal scorer over the past couple of years, and I feel like he deserves to be the best player on that Columbus team. Dallas Stars, this was an easy decision, I think. Joe Pavelski, 56 games, 51 points this season, 13 power play goals, which is tied for second in the league. Next one is the Red Wings. Coming in for the Red Wings, I had to choose between Dylan Larkin and Philip Hronek, but Dylan Larkin's been good the past couple years. I chose Dylan Larkin, 44 games, 23 points, which isn't very good for Larkin, and the Red Wings didn't have the greatest season, but I thought I had to choose him because he has been good in the past, and I'm sure he'll be a great player in the future. Also, we have Florida Panthers. For the Florida Panthers, I had Jonathan Huberdeau, who's in my top 10 most underrated players in the NHL video. If you didn't see that, go check that out. Anyways, 55 games, 61 points, over a point per game. Plus minus, he had a plus 12. He's so underrated. Probably the most underrated player in the league. If you have 61 points and you're not really talked about too much, I would feel bad because he's a really good player, and I think he deserves more appreciation, I guess. I don't know. But anyways, Nashville Predators, people would think, yeah, Roman Josi, Philip Forsberg. No, actually, I chose Juuse Saros. He was in my underrated video because 21 wins, 927 save percentage, 2.28 goals against average, and I feel like he's a really good player, and he should get, I think he is the best player on the team for this year, for the Nashville Predators. I just feel like there is another option, Josi and Forsberg, but I feel like Saros takes the cake because usually goalies aren't the greatest on every team, but I think he was deserving. Tampa Bay Lightning, I chose Andre Vasilevsky. I could have chose Point, could have chose Palat, and I could have chose Hedman, but I chose Vasilevsky. 31 wins, 925 save percentage, 2.21 goals against average, 5 shutouts, and he was in the running for the Vezina. He did not win it. Marc-Andre Fleury won it, so congratulations to him, but he was a good player there for the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think he deserved that. Okay, number 9. Boston Bruins. You have Brad Marchand. I think this was an easy choice. 53 games, 29 goals, 40 assists, 69 points. Plus minus grade, he had a plus 26, I'm pretty sure. So Brad Marchand, definitely the best player of the Bruins. Also, he's been with them for a while, and he's on the best line in hockey, in my opinion, with Pastrnak and Bergeron. So going into number 10 on this list, we have the Buffalo Sabres, the next team on our list. I had to choose Sam Reinhart. There's really no other option. I mean, I guess you can make the argument Victor Olofsson because he's a young player, but 54 games, 40 points for Sam Reinhart, 10 power play goals, which is really good because that means he scored 10 times on the power play. Varlamov is coming in as the best player for the Islanders. I was looking at Barzal on the stats, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to choose Barzal. Look at his stats. But I looked at Varlamov's stats. He has 19 wins, 2.04 goals against average, 929 save percentage, 7 shutouts. 7 shutouts. That is no joke. That is a lot of no-scoring games he's allowed. So, moving on to the New York Rangers, this was one of the hardest ones to choose from. We had Adam Fox, we had Zibanejad, possibly, I guess, Buchnevich, Panarin. I was mostly between Panarin and Adam Fox, since Adam Fox won the Norris Trophy. And he is a second-year player, so I gave it to Adam Fox. 47 points in 56 games. His second season in the year. He won the Norris Trophy for the best defenseman in the league. I think he deserved this award, but credit to Panarin. Also, we'll have honorable mentions at the end. We have 5 honorable mentions who I think should have got on the list, but I couldn't put them on the list, but we'll have that at the end of the video. So, moving on to the next team, we have New Jersey Devils. Could have went with Jack Hughes, but I could have went with Zacha, so I went with Pavel Zacha. 35 points. I looked at his plus-minus. Not very good, though. Devils had a lot of rough games. They had a lot of players with minuses, so. But I chose Pavel Zacha. He had a good season, I think. So, moving on to the Pittsburgh Penguins, I had to choose Sidney Crosby, Sid the Kid. 55 games, 62 points. You just look at his past years. I could choose Jake Gensel. You could definitely make the argument that Jake Gensel deserves to be in there. But, alright, so moving on to the Washington Capitals, the Penguins rivalry. Nicholas Backstrom, I had to choose Nicholas Backstrom. Again, I could have chose Ovechkin, I could have chose John Carlson, but I had to go with Nicholas Backstrom. He's a pretty underrated player, I'd say. I had him in my video the other day. 55 games, 53 points, and he's a great center. I know he doesn't really score too much, but what you're looking for in a player is a good team player, and most of these goals Ovechkin scores, he makes the good passes to Ovechkin. So yeah, anyways, moving on to the next team, the Calgary Flames. I was between Johnny Gaudreau and Elias Lindholm, but because of Johnny Gaudreau's good years previously, I had to go with Johnny Gaudreau. 56 games, 49 points. It's almost a point per game. You could definitely say Elias Lindholm deserves an honorable mention or anything. I think he's a good player. Johnny Gaudreau's been better previous years. Okay, Edmonton Oilers, moving on. Connor McDavid. Guys, he had 100 points in 56 games. That is almost 2 points per game. That is crazy. I don't really know what else to say about Connor McDavid. He's just a flat-out outstanding player. He's always on the highlight reel. He won the Ted Lindsay Award. He also won the Hart Trophy Award for the MVP in the NHL. And I just don't know how he does it. Also, by the way, just to give you guys a hint, Leon Draisaitl will be in the honorable mentions. I mean, there's no way Leon he's got to be one of the best players in the league. He's probably the second best player in the league, maybe behind Austin Matthews because of how many goals Matthews scores. Moving on to the Montreal Canadiens, I had to choose Tyler Toffoli, 52 games, 44 points, 28 goals. He used to be a king, he was a good player. And then he got traded to Vancouver, and he was he was okay. And he got traded to Montreal, and he had this breakout season, and now that he helped lead Montreal to the Stanley Cup Finals. They're currently down 2-0, but I'm hoping they can make a comeback. Moving on to my favorite team in the NHL, the Ottawa Senators. I had to go with Connor Brown on this one. 56 games, 35 points, 21 goals. Only 20 goals scored on the Senators. So, also guys, next team here on the list, we have Philadelphia Flyers. I had to go with, I was kind of confused on who to go with. So I ended up going with Joel Farabee. 38 points in 55 games. The only 20-goal scorer on the Philadelphia Flyers, if you guys didn't know that. Only 20-goal scorer on the Philadelphia. And he's a young player. He's still got a lot of talent. I think he's only 21 years old or something crazy like that. Moving on, Toronto Maple Leafs. Austin Matthews, 52 games, 66 points, 41 goals, lead NHL. Mitchell Marner had one more point than Matthews, and I'm a big fan of Mitchell Marner, but I had to choose Matthews because of 41 goals. That leads the NHL, and that is just a crazy number, especially in a shortened season like this. Next up on this list, we have the Vancouver Canucks. Last Canadian team here on this list. Brock Besser, I was confused on who to pick. I wanted to pick Thatcher Demko, but I wanted to pick some other guys. I picked Brock Besser, 56 games, 49 points. I mean, that just makes sense. You expect a good player on the team to have that amount of points, and I think he's an all-around really good player. Winnipeg Jets. Oh, wait, this is the last team in the Canadian teams. Mark Scheifele. 56 games, 63 points. I think Mark Scheifele had a great year besides doing that hit on Jake Evans and the playoffs. That was a really bad hit. I'm sure he had no intention. I hope he didn't try to do that, I think. Mark Scheifele's a good player, and I don't think he would do something like that. Moving on to Max Comtoy. Anaheim Ducks. I didn't expect to choose Max Comtoy for one of these things. I mean, he's a great player, but I thought I would have to choose Rickard Rakell, or Ryan Getzlaf. 55 games, 33 points. That leads their team. They weren't the greatest this year, but I would pick John Gibson, but he just didn't have the best stats this year. He wasn't with the best team because the Ducks weren't that great this year. Arizona Coyotes did a lot of research on this one, Jacob Chikrin, 56 games, 41 points. This is where the research comes in. 18 goals as a defenseman, which leads the NHL in the goals as a defenseman. So, yeah. Next one is Colorado Avalanche. Nathan MacKinnon, 48 games only, 65 points. And some of the plays he makes, I know Mikko Rantanen, you have to give him a ton of credit. Rantanen had more goals, but MacKinnon has the highlight reels and stuff, you'll see in the honorable mentions who I put in there, and then you'll understand some of these decisions. Next up, we have number 28, or number 27 here, the Los Angeles Kings. You got Anze Kopitar, the veteran. He's won a cup with the Kings. I think he's won 2, maybe. 56 games, 50 points, best player on the team by far. I didn't really have too many other options. I guess Dustin Brown, if you wanted to make the argument. Next up, coming in, the next team, the Minnesota Wild, Kirill Kaprizov, 55 games, 51 points, won the Calder Trophy, was the best rookie in the year, this league, the NHL, this year by far, I think. I mean, you have to give Jason Robertson a ton of credit when credit is due for him. But I think Kaprizov is really the Wild. And also Kevin Fiala is a good player. He had a really strong breakout season with Wild. And I think the Wild will be a team to look out for next year. Okay, the San Jose Sharks. You got Evander Kane. 56 games, 49 points. I usually would think, Logan Couture, Hurdle, Kane, or Meyer. And I went with Evander Kane this year. He's a good player. Erik Karlsson did not have a good year. Brent Burns had a pretty good year, but I had to go with Evander Kane. So moving on to the St. Louis Blues, we got David Perron, who had an extremely great season. 56 games, 58 points. There's no question that he should be not on this list. Ryan O'Reilly, though, had a great season. Just not as good as Perron. But both of them deserve credit for being really good. But I think Perron is the best player on the St. Louis Blues. Moving on to the last team before the honorable mention section. Mark Stone for the Vegas Golden Knights. 61 points in 55 games. That is over a point per game. That is great. They made it pretty far in the playoffs to the semifinals. And Mark Stone went 6 games without scoring a point in the playoffs, which isn't the greatest, but I still think in the regular season, if we're talking and playoffs, I still think Mark Stone has enough to take the prize of being the best player on the Vegas Knights. So let's get into the honorable mentions here. Honorable mention number 1, you got Leon Draisaitl. There's no question that he should be in the honorable mention section. 84 points in 56 games, way over a point per game. Number 2 in the honorable mention section, Mikko Rantanen, Colorado Avalanche. For Mikko Rantanen, you think Colorado Avalanche, you think McKinnon, and you think Rantanen, and it was really, really hard to pick Rantanen or McKinnon, but I had to give one of them an honorable mention, the person I didn't pick. 52 games, 66 points. That's great. That is an outstanding season for Mikko Rantanen. Number 3, Toronto Maple Leafs, Mitchell Marner, 55 games, 67 points. And remember, he sets up a lot of Austin Matthews' goals. That's what's so good about him. Artemi Panarin coming in at number 4 in the honorable mention section. New York Rangers here, Artemi, 58 points in 42 games. That is outstanding. Only 42 games, but 58 points. I almost chose him over Adam Fox, but I thought about Adam Fox, who won the Norris Trophy, and I think Adam Fox deserved that credit. Okay, number 5, Alex DeBrincat for the Chicago Blackhawks. 52 games, 56 points, and listen to this, 32 goals for the young player. I think he really deserves a spot on the honorable mention. Maybe next year he'll be better than Patrick Kane, who knows. But anyways, guys, that is going to do it for today's video. Keep you guys updated. Maybe I'll be getting another video out later. It depends. Let me know if you like these stat videos. Also, this video did take a while to make, actually. It took a couple hours to write down all these stats for you guys to know. So if you could just take a minute to subscribe to the channel, that would be great. And I'll see you guys in the next one.